약속한 이 평화 세계 꼭 이루도록 합시다.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to HWPL's 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. I am your host, Park Soo-jang. March 14, 2016. The 10 Articles and 38 Clauses of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War was proclaimed in Seoul, Republic of Korea. And today, broadcasting from the same place, we commence the 6th annual commemoration online. The care and efforts from across societies planted the seed of peace, and now we are seeing them yield beautiful fruits. From Mindanao, Philippines, to many cities around the globe, people are reserving HWPL Peace Day and building peace monuments. Moreover, in efforts to pass on the values of peace, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and universities have introduced peace education. Youth groups and women's groups are leading campaigns, and the religious community is expanding warp offices for interaction grounded on harmony and understanding. Meanwhile, on March 1st, HWPL issued a statement on Russia and Ukraine. With deep condolences, our hearts go out to the innocent citizens suffering in Ukraine. To make sure we do not repeat such tragedy caused by violent conflict, it is ever more relevant to discuss the theme Institutionalizing Peace. I hope that we can achieve the goal together and bring cessation of wars that cause chaos and suffering, make a culture of peace take root, and open an era of global peace. Now, with that hope, today's program will be a chance to affirm our resolve for collective efforts and share the major goals regarding institutionalizing peace, building a legal foundation for sustainable peace. This event carries on the discussions in 2021 regarding concerted action for sustainable peace and offers a more specific approach, institutionalizing peace, which will form a foundation for peace embodied in the DPCW and help a culture of peace further its reach. Also, it will cement the spirit of peace that civil society urges, nurturing all nations and citizens as messengers of peace, and help foster a world of freedom, peace, and love. Fair governance done by law and not by force. The harmonious coexistence of different faiths, peoples, and cultural values. A world free of the grief of wars. It is a vision that can be made reality through the actions of no other than us and everyone who longs for peace. Now, to start off today's commemoration of the 6th anniversary of the DPCW, we have congratulatory messages from the members of the HWPL International Law Peace Committee.
Well, my best regards to all the members that are going to participate in the next event on March the 13th. We are in the borderline of a very historical moment in the human life when two European nations are confronting themselves, one for a hegemonic position and the other to maintain its independence. More than ever, in this border of the Third World War, I will pray to the God of all of us to maintain our main objective, peace for everybody, tranquility, calm, and overall good standard of living for all the European countries who are suffering. But not only for them, but the other members of the international community are facing a terrible moment. How many people is going to die? How many people is going to suffer? Do we need this terrible controversy? No, we don't. We need to think in other common and more higher level position objective that could prevent the humanity from a catastrophic disaster. Please work hard for the program and agenda of the next event, and I wish you a great success. You are very important for the peace of the world, and I hope that through the thoughts and the learnings of Chairman Lee, we will continue working for the objective of peace and the cause of justice. Good luck.
In the occasion of the 6th anniversary of the BPCW, I have the privilege to be one of the peace family around the world. Family founded by this prestigious organization, an organization that have a remarkable role to divulgate the culture of peace in its largest meaning, inclusive, to guarantee the rights and dignity of human beings.
I am delighted to participate in the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. Let us congratulate ourselves on coming together to build a legal foundation for sustainable peace. The precondition for achieving peace is securing people's inalienable rights, which include equality before the law, equal protection of law, non-discrimination, freedom to associate, freedom to assemble, and freedom to express. HWPL has enabled us to combine our efforts to promote peace. Over the past year, HWPL has made significant contribution to projects to promote peace, culture, and education. We need, therefore, to strengthen our movement by involving civil society and strengthening national institutions for preventing violence and promoting and enforcing non-discriminatory laws and policies. We must build stronger and non-discriminatory regional associations with the eventual aim of achieving universality. Let us rededicate ourselves to work together for the institutionalization of peace. Thank you.
Dear members of the Global Peace family, it is my great honor and pleasure to be with you today online during the occasion of the 6th commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War in the context of the institutionalization of peace. In the world's ongoing crisis, governments question themselves what kind of action would be the best action to take in order to overcome the emergency crisis. The need for human development by overcoming the public health emergency, climate change, economic decline, restrictions on human rights, brings us to the point of how these burdens are solved by the institutions of the governments. Much of the burdens of the work is therefore on the side of the governments. And so it is important what are the priorities in their institutional agenda. Until we will not be able to solve the present crisis, peace will be in a long distance in front of us. Finding a stability within all the crises in the present world is not an easy task, and it requires a lot of knowledge and wisdom. The question of security has become more and more important in the contrast of the institutionalization of peace. Enjoyment of human rights together with peace in the emergency crisis requires even more specific action and balanced well by the governments within their framework of responsibility to deal with the crisis. This requires not only a good communication strategy from the side of the governments about the crisis in the world, but it also requires a will to establish new programs for prevention of such crises in the light of the stability, human security, de facto protection of human rights as a precondition of peace. Only when human beings feel safe, peace is becoming more visible. cooperation of governments, for example, within the United Nations, requires a common will to apply their international law obligations, which can be done through different programs on a national level. Such programs should include a plan of action for peace, thus promoting friendly relations among nations. In this framework, political and administrative leaders, as well as the private sector, play a central role in creating a common vision for a peaceful world. Thank you.
Dear delegates, at the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, these are challenging times in which we live. The effects of the COVID pandemic are still being felt worldwide, and now we face an unprecedented situation in Europe with the emergence of a new war in Ukraine that we can only hope will end quickly and with as few casualties as possible. At times like this, it becomes ever more obvious why we must strive for new solutions to promote global peace. I commend HWPL and Chairman Lee for allotting their resources, their energy and their passion in supporting projects designed to improve the array of tools available to international actors to secure a lasting peace in our world. Hopefully with tools like this, we may look forward to a brighter future. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a very happy March 14th.
The Declaration of Peace and the Cessation of War, DPCW, by the HWPL in 2016 kick-started a unique global movement for establishing peace and harmony in global societies. I am honored to participate in the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War and wish every success of the event. The DPCW reminds us of the pledges of our forefathers to end war and armed conflict, which destroy millions of lives, affect much more, and cast a dark shadow on our future. It enshrined the principles of actions for ending wars and establishing and sustaining peace. Its universal appeal has attracted people across the board, including heads and ministers of state, justices, professors, and activists, and inspired millions of young people to dream of a world of peace, prosperity, and happiness. HWPL was the catalyst in drafting this document and spreading its message in all corners of the world. This monumental effort has drawn the attention of global media and social media and forged a bond among millions from various borders, backgrounds, and beliefs. I am happy that the 6th commemoration of the DPCW will focus on developing a strategic paper for institutionalizing peace to the free world from the fear of war and conflict. Let us express our undying commitment to work together for the institutionalization of peace. Thank you. The commitment to peace must be a universal and omnitemporal effort. The search for peace begins with the individual, continues in families, schools, cities, and countries, and transcends peoples, nations, and continents. For the past 6 years, women and men from different parts of the world, from different cultures and traditions, have gathered in Seoul to say that there is no good war, nor a bad peace. In times of crisis, like the one we are experiencing now, dialogue and international law are the surest path for long-lasting peace. May world leaders pay attention to the inalienable values of humanitarian law and human rights and quickly return to the path where there is no room for aggression and there is no room for the strongest to step on the most vulnerable. It will be an honor to participate in the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. a joint effort to make the ideal of peace an always possible dream, putting away wars and conflicts and making peace an objective for all. Best regards. I am happy to participate in the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. For achieving peace, it is necessary to secure people's inalienable rights, which include inter alia, equality before the law, full protection of the law, non-discrimination, freedom to associate, freedom to assemble, and freedom to express. HWPL has made it possible for us to combine our efforts to promote peace. HWPL has made essential contributions to projects to promote peace, culture, and education. We need the effort to strengthen national institutions for preventing violence and promoting and enforcing non-discriminatory laws and policies. Let us continue to work together for the institutionalization of peace. Thank you.
Thank you. As the ILPC members remarked, I hope that we can bring concerted efforts as one toward institutionalizing peace, strong and fair, and build societies free of discrimination or violence, where every person is equal before the law. Next, we will have the progress report marking the 6th anniversary of the DPCW, given by someone who was part of the drafting and proclamation of the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the Declaration. Please give a warm hand to welcome Mr. Pravin Parekh, the President of the Confederation of Indian Bar and Chairperson of HWPL ILPC.
Hello, I am Pravin Parekh, the Chairperson of the HWPL International Law Peace Committee. I am pleased to meet you again, all the peace messengers working all over the world for peace celebrating the 6th anniversary. After the 5th anniversary last year, HWPL has been active in promoting and realizing the value of the DPCW. Before introducing the activities, let us take a look at the history of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW, which we have gathered to commemorate. On 25th May 2013, HWPL Chairman Man Lee He declared the need to implement international law for the cessation of war and world peace through the Declaration of World Peace. Afterwards, at the HWPL World Peace Summit on 18 September 2014, 29 political leaders, including former heads of the state, chief justices, and world leaders, promised the implementation of international law for peace by signing the agreement to propose the enactment of international law for the cessation of wars and world peace. After the promise, international law experts from 17 countries were appointed as the International Law Peace Committee ILPC to lay the foundation for drafting the peace declaration, and after several meetings, the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War DPCW was finally drafted on 14th March 2016 at 3:14 p.m. at COEX Seoul. The DPCW was proclaimed to the whole world. In order to create a peaceful world without war, practical laws and systems beyond wishing for peace are needed. Also, the causes, means, and ideas of war must be fundamentally eliminated and changed. Accordingly, HWPL has included clauses preventing war and practical ways to achieve peace in the DPCW with intentions to implement it as a legally binding international law to leave a world of peace without war to the future generations. HWPL has conducted LP Legislate Peace Project, an activity to secure, support and realize the DPCW with the youth, women and civil society around the world since the DPCW was proclaimed. As a result of this, HWPL has signed MOUs with the Pan-African Parliament PAP, which is the legislative body of the African Union consisting of 55 African countries. The International Center for Black Sea Baltics Studies and Consensus Practices, whose members are former heads of the Eastern European countries, as well as an MOA with the Coalition of the Caribbean Leaders for the Peace, CCLP, whose members are former heads of the Caribbean countries. In addition to this, the resolutions were passed by the support of the TPCW by the Central American Parliament in 2017, Cotabato and Davao City in Mindanao of the Philippines in 2019, and Kapalong, Davalded, North Midantun in 2020. Support for the DPCW was also expressed at the national level by Silicis, Eswatini and Comoros in 2018, and Antigua and Barbuda and Saint Vincent and the Grenadines in 2019. In 2021, education for law school students regarding the DPCW was actively conducted. A total of 21 law school students from 4 countries, India, Bangladesh, Tunisia, and the Dominican Republic, participated and produced various results. After the education, Janduba and James University in Tunisia each established an international peace club to carry out various peace activities. Additionally, HWPL signed an MOA with NCE Law School of the Dominican Republic of Continuous Education and Cooperation, and they also signed an MOU with the Empowerment Through Law of the Common People of ELCOP, an organization represented by a law professor at Dhaka University in Bangladesh. In order to realize Articles 8 and 9 of the DPCW that proposes to resolve the root cause of the conflicts between the religions, which is the main cause of the war, 266 World Alliance of Religions peace offices are being operated in 129 countries, and a total 3698 discussions and talks were held last year. HWPL continues to teach the culture and the spirit of peace through HWPL peace education to teenagers and children who will be the heroes of the future in order to maintain a world of peace, as stated in Article 10 of DPCW. Currently, 242 locations in 42 countries are designated as peace schools and peace organizations, and 1,500 education sessions were conducted in 111 countries around the world last year. The history of peace created by HWPL and the messengers of the peace around the world is not the work of a distant future. It is our work that will be done in the near future, and most importantly, it is our task. Despite the endless global pandemic, HWPL's peace activities continue without interruptions, and more passengers of peace are joining us. More active peace activities will take place this year than ever. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who attended the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War and conclude the progress report. Thank you. 14th March 2022, Praveen Parekh, the Chairman of HWPL International Law Peace Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I ask for your continued support and cooperation for HWPL's peace projects in 2022. Now, we will invite 2 peace messengers to hear from them. First, Professor Romel Santos Diaz, President of the Dominican Federalist Foundation, will present a case study of the DPCW Handbook Education Project to institutionalize peace.
From the Dominican Republic, we want to present a case study of the DPCW Handbook Project for Institutionalizing Peace, and present you all our speech in this DPCW commemoration. To Chairman Lee, the directors of HWPL, and esteemed guests, I appreciate the opportunity to speak at HWPL's 6th annual commemoration of the DPCW about the path our work has taken for the DPCW in the Dominican Republic.
Restauración de la luz, sobre la trayectoria de nuestro trabajo para la declaración de paz y cese de guerras en la República Dominicana.
I believe that the DPCW is a document of universal value. It is a vital and ideal document to be incorporated into primary and university education programs with the objective and purpose of providing guidance to citizens about peace as a global movement. In addition, it is a document that can strengthen the rule of law and protect fundamental human rights. The beginning of our work with HWPL dates back to 2018 with a trip to Washington, D.C. to participate in the 48th General Assembly of the Organization of American States, where we met several of the members of HWPL's international team. Currently, I've had the honor of coordinating important dialogues on the DPCW, connecting HWPL with students from INCE University and the Autonomous University of Santo Domingo, which are two of the best universities in our country.
Las cuales son de las mejores universidades de nuestro país.
We have worked with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Attorney General's Office of the Dominican Republic to provide feedback on the Dominican state's decision-making for public policies on citizen security and human rights with the DPCW as a guide. We have formed a strong NGO coalition to support the DPCW, and we have presented the DPCW to important non-governmental organizations to support the process of institutionalizing the DPCW in the Dominican Republic. An important factor for our work in the Dominican Republic is the DPCW handbook in schools and universities, and at the same time, we are working with civil society organizations and non-governmental organizations.
Y asimismo, la colaboración con organizaciones de la sociedad civil y organizaciones no gubernamentales.
Currently, many professors from different universities are expressing interest and requesting to teach these materials and have DPCW training with their classes. We are in the process of institutionalizing the trainings of the DPCW manual so that they will not be administered once, but will be part of the International Law University curriculum to help instill in the minds of our future leaders the importance of uniting our voices to promote peace through legislation.
Para ayudar a inculcar en las mentes de nuestros futuros líderes la importancia de unir nuestras voces para promover la paz a través de la legislación.
Currently, we are working with Dominican Republic's Senate and the Chamber of Deputies to approve the resolution in support of the DPCW, which was drafted by the coalition with comments from HWPL. We are preparing communiques for the President of the Dominican Republic, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Secretary of the Organization of American States to request support for the DPCW throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. I have the honor to introduce within the framework of the annual commemoration of the DPCW the non-governmental organizations that have formed a coalition to support the DPCW in the Dominican Republic.
a la DPCW en la República Dominicana.
It is a diverse group of civil society organizations that support the DPCW in the Dominican Republic. It forms strategic alliances in the long run to obtain support for the DPCW and HWPL by other organizations, the government, and their key institutions. For example, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Culture, and the Ministry of Youth. The organizations are as follows: Commission for the Inter-American Democratic Charter, Dominican Federalist Foundation, National Foundation for Democracy, Dominican Organization for Studies and Promotion of International Relations, Institute of Lawyers for the Protection of the Environment and Natural Resources, Family Restoration Help Center, Dominican Literacy Foundation, Horizon of Light Foundation, Dominican Network for Democracy, and the Dominican Coalition in Support for the International Criminal Court. We once again thank HWPL and Chairman Lee for their tireless efforts to spread the true message of peace, not only in our country, but throughout the world. As we continue to work to institutionalize DPCW training at the university level, build and strengthen our CSO coalition, and advocate for the DPCW at the national level through communiques and meetings with officials and legislative resolutions, I hope that our passion, plans, and progress in the Dominican Republic can be an inspiration for everyone present today.
Los planes y el progreso en la República Dominicana puedan ser una inspiración para todos los que están presentes hoy.
We will continue to be the hands and feet of HWPL and Chairman Lee to create a world of freedom, peace, and love that we can leave to our future generations, starting here in the Dominican Republic as an example for the world.
Comenzando acá en la República Dominicana como un ejemplo para el mundo.
Thank you for the speech. The stories about the DPCW handbook training and collaboration with civil organization showed us the efforts taking place in Dominica to incorporate the DPCW into the institution on multiple fronts. Now, we will hear from Imam Shafiq Nulan of Westridge Mosque in South Africa on the value of the DPCW for religious peace and institutionalization.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings of love, peace, mercy, and blessings to our family and messengers of peace around the world. I am Maulana Shafiq Nolan from Mitchells Plain, South Africa, and I have been a participant at the HWPL WARP office for a number of years now. I am thrilled and very excited to be communicating with you at this very auspicious occasion of the 6th commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. Dear friends, it is the unfortunate reality that peace to many is only a fantasy. In many parts of the world, women, children, elderly, and men alike, they are crying desperately for the end of wars and oppression. Some have given up on the dream of equal peace for all. Others still believe it is within their human reach, even though they don't know anything else but destruction, mayhem, and wars. It should be the mission of all sectors of our global society to aspire to the realization of the DPCW. Article 8 and 9 of the DPCW emphasizes the importance of peace between religions and the cessation of religious conflicts. The monthly scripture dialogue hosted by HWPL particularly aim to create a platform to break down misunderstandings of religious scripture and practices, mirroring the values expressed in the DPCW. I have engaged in many interfaith platforms. However, Warp Office is the first one that I have committed myself to on a continuous basis. Initially, I did not know what to expect from the Warp offices, but after getting involved in many peace activities of HWPL, the Peace Walks and the Peace Summit in Korea, it became very clear that there is a noble purpose with a clear goal to create religious harmony and global peace. At that moment, I resolved that this is something that I have to be a part of. As a Muslim and a representative of Islam in the Warp office, there were occasions where I had a particular understanding and a particular view on a given subject. The discussions and dialogue inspired me to dig in very deep into my own scripture and develop a holistic view in line with the Islamic teachings. This shows, as religious leaders, we can learn from each other and through discussion create understanding amongst religious leaders for the purpose of ending religious misunderstandings. These experiences we take to our congregation and encourage them with the same mindset, not to seek for differences, but to seek for understanding. An example of this is when we hosted the Warp office at our mosque. After the sessions, I had congregants expressing how thought-provoking and interesting the views from other panelists were. This is indeed the culture that emanates from the vision of Warp Office, which influences people of faith to instill within them the culture of religious harmony, institutionalizing sustainable peace and achieving a culture where people of faith understand the importance of communication and consistently interact with people of different religions. Oh, people of Scripture, come to a common word and understanding which is the same between us. Fellow peace messengers, we are living in an age of information explosion, where accurate and inaccurate information is readily available to anyone. It is our collective duty as religious leaders to lead our congregants with accurate information and ensure that we advance the true objectives of our scripture. For indeed, all heavenly revealed scriptures have a common goal for all mankind, and that is, apart from others, to inspire wholesome and peaceful living with closeness to the Almighty. The newsletter and Warp offers journals that HWPL has sent globally to people of faith is a wonderful initiative that is vital in achieving the institutionalization of peace within religion. It has the potential to discredit any incorrect narrative that may be portrayed in the media or people's minds about other religions. As I have been informed, this initiative has encouraged leaders who had not previously participated in the Warp office to join and engage in scripture dialogue, further expanding the work of peace and religious harmony. This initiative is an essential mechanism to serve the purpose of realizing mutual understanding and mutual respect for each other's faith. As a faith leader from the Islamic faith, I wish to commend HWPL for the wonderful platform of Warp Office. And during the lockdown, where we could not meet, this online platform was facilitated in order to forward the work of peace, where religious leaders as well as the global community could converge for the common objective of realizing peace. Warp Office is growing and expanding despite these challenges that we face. I will continue to work to grow this peace initiative, and we advise everyone to do the same. As faith leaders, we need to stay committed and march forward relentlessly for the sake of peace until its realization. Together with HWPL, let's all be the voice of peace for the voiceless and the hope for the hopeless. I thank you all most kindly and greet you with the greeting of universal peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much for that speech. Imam Nolan spoke about institutionalizing peace for sustainable peace and religious harmony achieved through an organic interfaith exchange and interaction. This time, we will invite John Romel Garces, Chief Branch Manager of HWPL Philippines Branch. Mr. Garces will talk about the strongest foundation for achieving peace, institutionalization of HWPL peace education in the Philippines.
Greetings of peace. I am John Romel Garces, the Chief Branch Manager of HWPL in the Philippines. In line with the title of The Strongest Foundation in Achieving World Peace, Institutionalization of HWPL Peace Education in the Philippines, we would like to share the example of how peace education is being adopted in the Philippines. In June 2013, Chairman Lee Man-hee conducted his first visit in the Philippines. He received an advice to extend HWPL's works of peace in Mindanao, the most conflicted region in the Philippines. 6 months later, Chairman Lee led the Mindanao Peace Agreement represented by Archbishop Fernando Capalla and Honorable Ismael Mangudadatu. This signified the beginning of the work of HWPL in the Philippines. This eventually led to the establishment of the first HWPL Peace Monument in the Philippines. Chairman Lee says, peace is planted in each person's heart through this Peace Monument. Therefore, the establishment of Peace Monument is also part of peace education. And January 24 was proclaimed as HWPL Peace Day in the province of Maguindanao in honor of the Mindanao Peace Agreement. The engagements of HWPL in Mindanao quickly spread out, reaching even the leadership of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, an Islamic group in Mindanao region who fought for self-determination for over 40 years. Chief Minister Ahod Ibrahim, motivated by HWPL Peace Movement, he then established the second Peace Monument in Camp Darapanan of the MILF and declared January 24 as HWPL Peace Day. Meanwhile, another unprecedented peace movement was launched by HWPL when the 10 Articles and 38 Clauses of DPCW was proclaimed in the Republic of Korea. Through this, the concept of Article 10, spreading the culture of peace through peace education, was intensified. Moving forward, through the Cotabato State University, which is under CHED, Dr. Ronald Adamat was invited to join the Third Warp Summit, and from then on, he decided to work together with HWPL. By January 2018, HWPL and CHED signed an MOA during the 26th World Peace Tour of Chairman Lee. This has become a huge step in institutionalizing peace education in the Philippines. This led to the release of CHED Memorandum Order No. 1, Series of 2019, an order mandating all higher educational institutions to integrate peace education in their respective curricula.
Being a peace advocate, I have strongly and consistently supported HWPL's vision of establishing world peace through reunification and cessation of wars and hostilities among peoples and nations. In 2019, I initiated in CHED the issuance of CMO No. 1. This particular CMO mandated all higher education institutions in the country to introduce to our students the relevance and significance of peace in relation to nation building, development, and international relations. I wanted that every Filipino student renounce war and work for the cessation of hostilities as espoused by HWPL.
Efforts to reach out the basic education through DepEd started in Cotabato City, Mindanao in the fourth quarter of 2019. Pilot testing and contextualization, the most important part of integration process of HWPL peace education into the education system, were first conducted through the cooperation of the DepEd Schools Division of Cotabato City. And in February 6, 2020, an MOA was signed between HWPL and DepEd Cotabato City. While gaining this great momentum for peace education, the pandemic strikes the whole world. This was the most difficult moment, but instead of slowing down, we doubled the efforts and made the work faster. HWPL Peace Education Philippines launched the Voice of Peace, a platform for volunteer teachers to be trained and exercise their profession, catering the greatly affected students who were forced to stay home due to the pandemic. From July 30, 2020 to February 6, 2021, the Voice of Peace produced 52 students empowered with 12 education lessons that was taught by 19 volunteer teachers. Because of the positive response of the education sector as well as the students, HWPL intensified the training of teachers, raising them to be peace educators to cater more students. From January 2021 to present, HWPL Philippines hosted 10 training programs, trained 2,079 teachers, and became peace educators, and through them, 36 schools are now implementing peace education in their curriculum, which covers about 23,000 students. These sincere efforts bore fruits in the heart of the Filipinos and was acknowledged by the DepEd, eventually leading to more partnerships. HWPL was introduced to the National Office of DepEd and received the support in implementing peace education initiatives in the basic education.
As an important tool in promoting peace education, we have also piloted peace education in Pila District through HWPL, emphasizing the integration of peace, nonviolence, conflict resolution, social justice, economic well-being, practical participation, and environmental concerns.
The Department of Education is definitely supportive of efforts to ensure that the learners become peace-loving Filipinos. Definitely, we have partners from the division offices, schools especially, and even from the private schools working with your team in making sure that peace education collaborations are effectively implemented.
Moreover, HWPL was invited to be part of the National Working Group, including CHED regional directors, to implement peace education to all colleges and universities in the Philippines, as stipulated in CHED Memorandum Order No. 1, Series of 2019.
To the peace educators of the HWPL, your vision to enlighten students and cultivate talented individuals with the values and spirit of peace, who can in turn play a pioneering role in spreading the culture of peace, is indeed admirable and commendable.
Philippines is comprised of 17 regions. So far, we have an MOU with Region 2 and Region 10, total of 65 partner colleges and universities. We are targeting to reach out all the 17 regions in 2022. Moreover, Dr. Adamat, the champion of peace education, initiated another great move as he convinced CHED to propose January 24 as National Peace Day. If approved, all the colleges and universities in the 17 regions of the Philippines will celebrate this Peace Day.
In 2021, I convinced CHED to call on President Rodrigo Duterte to declare January 24 as regular holiday, being National Peace Day. The CHED Commission in Bank has issued an endorsement to President Duterte urging him to declare January 24 as National Peace Day that will provide for simultaneous celebration and observance of peace through peace activities, events, and ceremonies by all instrumentalities and agencies of government, including the private sector.
Every peace monument has its own story. The third peace monument in Cotabato City was erected inside the Christian and Muslim community, and they melted the weapon as a strong symbol of community transformation from war to peace. The fourth peace monument in Barangay Foz, Ilocos Norte was erected through the volunteer teacher of peace education that touches the hearts of the students, eventually to their parents and to the whole community. The entire community contributed according to their capacity, and so they have established the Peace Monument. Lastly, the fifth Peace Monument in Siniloan Integrated National High School is the first Peace Monument inside the school campus. The government and private sector, as well as the teachers, work together to establish the monument that will inspire and transform the students from generation to generation.
Ang Mindanao dati,
Mindanao used to be a chaotic place. I am so happy to see the Peace Monument at Camp Tarapanan. Now, I am donating this gun of mine for the sake of peace in this place. The people in my organization are delighted to see this peaceful landmark established here in our area.
The DPCW Article 10 spreading the culture of peace have paved the way for peace education to reach the hearts of every learners. Therefore, we envision every schools, colleges, universities, all across the globe, starting in the Philippines, will nurture the students and embed peace education in their hearts and minds. Eventually, the leaders of the next generation will rise up and will lead the world with peace and love. I myself witnessed how Mindanao have changed. I once asked a child living in Mindanao, "What is peace for you?" He answered, "Peace is the gun because it gives us protection." Even for Filipinos, we are hesitant to go to Mindanao because of the image of wars and conflicts. But I saw how Chairman Lee carried out his peace works in Mindanao without hesitation, and I myself have been changed. Now we can tell a different story. We may confidently say the new definition of peace. Peace is education. Peace is DPCW. Everyone, join me in declaring, we are one!
Thank you. Building on the foundations for implementing peace education in the Philippines, Mr. Garces shared plans to promote the values of peace and to ensure that DPCW Article 10, spreading a culture of peace, gets passed on through generations. Since its declaration in 2016, the DPCW gave birth to a number of peace campaigns across the globe. We have seen peace movements bring promising signs across diverse countries, religions, and cultures. Take a look at clips from the scene of peace building.
Why do we call for peace? In the midst of constant conflict with no end in sight, where we are desperate for peace in our lives, we call for peace today, to leave a legacy of sustainable peace for future generations. HWPL 6th Annual Commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. After the DPCW was proclaimed on the 14th of March 2016, the DPCW Handbook was made. Recognizing the need for the DPCW, law students across the globe utilize the handbook to propose practical policies for the governments and engage in a wide range of discussions to institutionalize peace. Religious leaders are realizing the value of Articles 8 and 9 of the DPCW through the Warp Office discussions, and there are consistent efforts to expand the established Warp offices throughout the world in order to institutionalize religious peace. HWPL Peace Education carries Article 10 of the DPCW, spreading a culture of peace, into action by training HWPL peace educators who will go on to teach students about peace. Efforts to institutionalize peace education will continue through the implementation of peace education in schools worldwide in order to foster peaceful citizens who can achieve and maintain peace even in the midst of conflicts. In order to support and promote the DPCW, youth and women are finding and trying different ways to achieve tangible peace in their respective locations. The recent ceremony marking the 8th anniversary of the civilian-led peace agreement in Mindanao, Philippines, demonstrated a remarkable achievement of peace. Students who underwent peace education led the establishment of a peace movement, and the country's agency in charge of higher education is implementing the HWPL peace education. Also, the leaders from different walks of life that joined the 8th anniversary proposed to recommend the designation of the 24th of January as a national holiday of the Philippines to the President this year. As a model of institutionalization through the DPCW, we hope to see more cases like that of Mindanao, Philippines throughout the world. Why do we call for peace? To leave a legacy of sustainable peace for future generations. HWPL.
Thank you. I think that gives us a glimpse to the power of institutionalizing peace that can transform the perspective on peace held by individuals, communities, and the global society. Even at this moment, there are people taking the initiative to build a beautiful world of peace. At the forefront are 5 million youths working together with the International Peace Youth Group in the center. This time, we will hear from Chung Young-min, the General Director of IPYG. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chung Young-min, the General Director of IPYG. Today marks the 6th year since the DPCW was proclaimed to the whole world. It is a pleasure to be here to celebrate the proclamation of the DPCW, which proposes a practical solution to world peace. We promise to establish an international law for cessation of war and world peace at the HWPL World Peace Summit in 2014. And on this day in 2016, the DPCW, which was drafted by the HWPL International Law Peace Committee and Chairman Lee Man-hee, was proclaimed to the world. Since then, we have been urging different levels of civic society as well as heads of state to support the DPCW. For the past 2 years, the pandemic has suspended or completely stopped many systems, including social order, and we faced many difficulties and conflict. However, it is now time to resolve those conflicts and prepare a way forward with a new standard and principle to achieve peace. The DPCW, which we are commemorating today, clearly proposes the direction we must take as humanity in this post-pandemic era. This document states the peace principles and related actions that the international society, each nation, and civic society must take in order to achieve world peace. By keeping these principles, we can prevent local and international conflicts, and global citizens will be able to internalize the value system of peace and peacefully resolve conflicts to maintain a society of peace. DPCW is the answer and principle of peace that holds these values. So I can confidently say that this is the law of peace that everyone must follow, regardless of the times. IPYG has also been working with youth around the world in order to raise awareness of the importance of the DPCW. I would like to introduce our activities as well as our future direction. IPYG has been working with organizations from 119 countries, and although we have conducted valuable projects with countless youth, we always thought there was no platform where we could bring the youth together. Last year, IPYG hosted HWPL in 55 countries so youth from different nations could cooperate. Over 2,000 youth leaders actively participated in coming up with solutions to critical issues faced by society and proposed creative ideas and cooperation plans to overcome various problems that youth face, including education, healthcare, human rights, and violence. This year, IPYG will scale HWPL based on our experience from last year so that more youth can engage and cooperate. Our goal is to eventually establish a youth council in every country. This year, we will establish regular HWPL meetings in 30 countries so that IPYG and the youth leaders of that country can gather. And the opinions of the youth gathered during the workshops will be shared with each government to establish the youth role as a pillar to achieving peace. When the HWPL is hosted in each country and the Youth Council is established, it will improve the culture of peace in Article 10 of the DPCW to institutionalize peace. Everyone, please give your attention to the youth of IPYG who are cooperating closely to create a new normal era of peace. I believe that a sustainable world of peace can be realized if the youth, the leaders of the upcoming era, lead the work to institutionalize the peace work of HWPL in each country. Let us continue to go forward for this goal. If the world's youth and citizens come together, we can create a sustainable world of peace and leave it to the future generations as a legacy. IPYG will prove to the family members of peace that peace can be institutionalized through the May 25th and September 18th events by sharing our ongoing plans and achievements. Lastly, to all the family members of peace, I hope for the health and safety of your nations during this pandemic era. We are always one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chung shared IPYG's plans for a full-fledged HWPL activity, forming a youth committee that will represent the youth population of each country to promote a culture of peace and institutionalize peace. I hope that the youth can take the lead and accelerate the process of building a world of lasting peace. Next is the group that works as the two wings of HWPL alongside IPYG and leads women's peace movements, bringing the global community of women together, empowering women, and putting the spirit of peace to action. The IWPG's chairwoman is working hard to realize a world of peace with a motherly heart. We will have the remarks of Ms. Yoon Hyun-suk, the chairwoman of IWPG. Please welcome her with a warm round of applause.
Greetings, family of peace. I am Yoon Hyun-suk, the chairwoman of IWPG. It has already been 6 years since HWPL declared the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War. I am sincerely pleased to meet all the peace families at this commemoration. Not long after hearing about the bloodshed in Myanmar, we were again exposed to the plight of Ukraine. A British Anglican archbishop said, "I pray to the God of peace and justice for the citizens of Ukraine today." And another wrote, "I pray for a peaceful resolution between the world leaders responsible for this attack." With celebrating the 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, let's think about what this declaration means to us today. HWPL Chairman Lee said that the DPCW is the answer given by heaven to cease war and achieve peace. Even at this moment, many people must be praying earnestly for Ukraine. I believe that the answer to that prayer is the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW. This declaration, which contains international norms to end war, addresses the causes of war and suppresses the outbreak of war, and also mentions follow-up measures to ensure that the world continues after war is ceased. In 2018, an MOU was signed between the Center BBS, International Center for Black Sea Baltic Studies, and HWPL, continuing the support of numerous countries and organizations, as well as former and current presidents and people from all over the world who agree to the need for the establishment of DPCW. This MOU was a promise that the two organizations would work closely together to cease war and achieve world peace. The Center BBS was established to respond to conflicts and threats occurring in the Baltic Black Sea region. The advisory committee is composed of former presidents of Ukraine, Poland, Estonia, Bulgaria, and Romania. The two organizations gave priority to the resolution of disputes through peaceful methods and pledged to cooperate in the future to maintain peace on the Korean Peninsula and in the Baltic Black Sea region as well as around the world. But last month, war broke out in this area. Our dear members and precious children are dying in Kyiv, Ukraine, where an IWPG branch is located. The greatest victims of war are women and young people. The current international law cannot stop war, even if innocent people are dying. Everyone, even after knowing this, will you just keep watching the limitations of current international law that enables war if deemed necessary? A war that should not have occurred is unfolding right before the eyes of our families. Now is the time to change international law. Responsible leaders of each country must move so that a new international law that will fundamentally prevent war can be enacted. I would like to make a request to the heads of states of all countries of the world. I sincerely ask for your swift action so that the DPCW can be established as an international law by the United Nations so that a sustainable peace can be realized. For me, who is living in a divided country that is under ceasefire rather than a ceased war, the tragic reality of wars in other countries is even more heartbreaking. Our wish is not war, but a world of peace where we and our children can live safely. Therefore, IWPG, a wing of HWPL, is working hard to support and urge for the establishment of international law of DPCW, together with all branches and members. Whether today will be the prelude to a new Cold War, or the end of the war lies in the hands of those who long for peace. If the DPCW, the only peace law that excludes the interests of any specific country, is established as an international law, the world of peace and cessation of war will be a reality and not just a dream. Now, a new era that no one has ever experienced is unfolding. In order to legally institutionalize the era of cessation of war, families of peace are also preparing with a sense of duty. Everyone here today, I ask you to complete your mission and duty as a messenger of peace until the day peace is achieved. We are a family of peace. We are one.
Thank you for the speech. Ms. Yoon said the DPCW is the single bill of peace that excludes weighing interest to any particular group, and urged for greater efforts from the international community to introduce the DPCW as part of international law. We hope that a world with war prevention and lasting peace will realize soon. Now, we will hear from Chairman Lee Man-hee of HWPL. Chairman Lee has proclaimed the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War and is leading innovative peace projects globally, including peace education and religious harmony. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Greetings to Family of Peace, joining the March 14th HWPL's 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War from around the world. Greetings again. I am pleased to see all of you. The earth is a very precious place that is essential to all of us, humanity. HWPL has been working to end wars and create peace on this earth so that it can be a lasting legacy for future generations. Today marks the 6th anniversary of one of such efforts. Dear family of peace, I believe we still have the determination and the resolve to bring wars to an end and leave a legacy of peace for future generations. we have been advocating that everyone, regardless of who they are, should join the family of peace and become messengers of peace. Isn't that so? However, at one place in the world, an unwanted war is going on. When a war is fought, who dies? It's the young people who lose their lives. I cannot but say that this is a barbaric act. Why must they cause such a conflict instead of living in their own countries? There is one thing I would like to say in this regard, and it's not for the sake of boasting. The Philippines is a country with a population of more than 120 million people. Unfortunately, a war continued for over 4 decades between two groups of people living on the land marked by different religions, Catholicism and Islam. Over 120,000 people died as a result. How could this be? Not only that, they say over 80% of all conflicts in the world involve religious causes. Could this be true religion? Should religion be a source of conflicts and disputes? Shouldn't it be religion of love that saves people? However, in the Philippines, there was a conflict between people who followed Catholicism and Islam as their religion. So why couldn't they resolve it? It's something to think about. One day, a Catholic leader from Mindanao, Philippines, came to see me to make a request. He asked me to come and lead a peace movement there. And sometime after receiving such a request, I was able to go to Mindanao, Philippines. There, I invited 2 local representatives. I also invited school professors. The big hall was packed with people. I asked them, "Everyone, do you want peace or do you want war? Raise your hand if you want war." Then I said, "Raise your hand if you want peace." I told the 2 leaders of Catholicism and Islam, "Please say what you would like to say, and let's decide whether we will let this conflict continue or live together in love, helping each other hand in hand. Let's come to an agreement today." That's what I said. And as you see now, everyone wants peace. Isn't that so? War kills people. This should not happen. More than 120,000 people died, and I asked the 2 leaders, what is the reason that leaders don't die in the war? And what could compensate for deaths? What could possibly compensate for them? I also asked whether it was the will of their God to fight and kill people. And that day, I brought with me an agreement that had been drafted. It was an agreement to work towards ending the conflict. And I asked the representatives to sign it before God and the people of the world. So they made the promise. What happened next? They brought me a sickle, which symbolized returning to daily life instead of war. And surprisingly enough, there is a similar passage in the 2nd chapter of Isaiah in the Bible. They brought me the sickle as a sign that they would not continue fighting. They also made this known to their president and people as well. So this was a case where HWPL's effort brought peace to a region in conflict, the 24th of January, the day when the agreement was signed, was declared as the HWPL Day to commemorate the event every year. It was celebrated this year as well. And they even said that they want to celebrate it as a national holiday. Then, our peace movement does not go in vain, but it is successful. We have established peace monuments in different countries, appointed peace educators, and provided our peace education to schools around the world by sending them teaching materials. Have you heard about this news? We have been making these efforts to create a peaceful world without war. If people of religion talk about heaven only with their lips, but fight and kill others in reality, how could this be called true religion? This should not happen again. I have gone around the world for peace work. I have met with former and current heads of state, chief justices, and speakers of parliaments in different countries. What I said to them was, let's end wars now and work together to achieve peace. Will you join us or not? Everyone agreed to join. So I asked them to sign an agreement, which I brought signed by them. This is what I've done in countries around the world. Has this kind of work done before? I'm not trying to boast, but the conflict in Mindanao could not be resolved either. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this kind of work was possible because of my abilities and power? No, it was God who made it possible. He showed peace to many people. And that's not all. When I was visiting those countries, people saw that a light was above me and took pictures of me. When doing this kind of work, we need God, and we should be people that the world needs. All members of the global community should become messengers of peace. Do you agree? Everyone should become a messenger of peace. All countries should acknowledge this and make an effort to create peace. Isn't that so? There is the one who created this earth. The Creator created this earth. But Christianity says that people who were created committed sin, and the Creator had to leave the earth as a result. But the time has come for God the Creator to come back. He promised to return to the earth, and it is recorded in the scriptures when and where He will come back. The scriptures even talk about what kind of signs will appear when it is time for God to return. When such signs appear, it would be time for God's return. Before God comes, the world is ruled by the evil one. But since God is the Creator, and He is the one who created the world, how much would He love His creation? He would love it greatly. So, the Creator and the creation will become one family and live together in this world. Then, the world will be such a happy and wonderful place. It will be a world of paradise. Yes, it will be. Faith comes from understanding. It comes from understanding. I'm sure that all families and all countries, regardless of who they are, would want to live well in comfort. No one would want to be in a war fighting. Isn't that the case? So we, HWPL, have worked on something. and that is legislating peace and cessation of war through international law. Under the current international law, the use of force is allowed in certain circumstances, so it alone is not enough to end wars. That is why we started this international law initiative. We appointed 21 members of the HWPL International Law Peace Committee. Now our ultimate goal is to have our declaration passed by the UN, but because of the pandemic situation, the process is halted at the moment. But once the United Nations reviews and approves it, this declaration on cessation of war will be adopted into international law. The document contains provisions saying that states should live on their own land and they should not invade other weaker states and cause them pain. These provisions are well written in the declaration. Whether they are well off or not, they should live in their own countries. Freedom is the greatest of all things. Freedom is the greatest thing. How great would it be to create such a free world and leave it as a lasting legacy for future generations? Instead of just talking about peace with our lips, we created something that could actually bring peace. It calls for an end to weapons of mass destruction and an end to wars and conflicts as well. It calls for establishing peace monuments, which is taking place even at this moment. Isn't it great? Also, for the sake of peace, I have asked many people for their cooperation and worked in a way that they could acknowledge. But time keeps passing by. Then as time passes, shouldn't the work improve more and more? It should improve. This peace movement should teach about peace in homes and schools, even elementary schools. We need to keep this in mind. We, HWPL, are providing schools with teaching materials on peace. When they learn and accept all of this content into their hearts, who will love their country, their people? The people will love their country. The country will love their people. Wouldn't they? This is our hope and desire. Dear family of peace, let's not forget this, and I hope we always communicate and keep in touch with each other. It would be very nice to ask each other questions on the phone and exchange letters and correspondence. We should do so. Do you know about the first article of the Constitution of the Republic of Korea? The first article has two parts. It states that the Republic of Korea shall be a democratic republic, and all state authority shall emanate from the people. So I believe it is not right for government workers paid by the people to trample on the people, oppress them, or make them anxious. True politics is about allowing the people to live a safe and comfortable life, isn't it? Also, Jesus, the Son of God, taught to love our neighbors as ourselves. Then, we should love one another, being the same people. And we should also create a developed country and pass it to our future generations so that they can live well. It is what we should accomplish. Let's not forget this. So, the whole world should transform into a place of love without any war, dispute, or conflict, according to the will of the Creator. Family of peace, let's all take part in this work. We should not just sit on our hands. Let's exchange letters and cooperate in order to create such a beautiful world. Look at the flowers out there. These beautiful flowers blossom, and we hear birds sing as well. How wonderful is it? Without this kind of earth, we will all die in pain. Because we were given such a good place to live in, we should make it more beautiful. Family of Peace, I would truly appreciate if you will shine light to the world as beautiful members of peace. Let us become the true light that shines on the whole world. This is my true hope and desire. Thank you. Now, I would like to close this message by shouting the phrase that we always say at the end. May great blessings be with all of your families and countries, and all families and countries should become one. Isn't that so? Then the whole world will be united in peace. I will close with the phrase, we are one. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that speech. Regardless of nationality, ethnicity, or religion, I believe that inspired the entire global community to become peace messengers and join the call for peace. Bringing peace in the global village starts from love for humanity, with a sense of care for one another. We share the vision of a world of peace, where freedom and equality are a norm, where cultural values and diversity are respected, where all of humankind forms a connection with the spirit of peace, a world where everyone is treated fairly and protected by the law of peace, an era of peace and life that does not require unnecessary sacrifice any longer. That vision we share today will start from institutionalizing peace. In Ukraine, precious lives in their youth are diminishing in the face of war. Who is this war for if it drives the vulnerable into harm's way? And what could ever repay the lost lives? HWPL hopes that the situation in Ukraine will come to a peaceful resolution and urges every country to join in unison to support and act for the restoration of peace. Now is the time to take courage and sound our voices and take action to protect invaluable lives and build a legacy of peace. Equal societies, safeguarding fairness and safety through the rule of law of peace. Institutionalizing peace will be the bedrock for that goal. Truly realizing peace will be achieved when our minds and hearts worldwide act as one. I think that statement makes this global gathering for peace even more meaningful. Now we will take a moment to take a photo to commemorate this meaningful moment. As we pose for the camera, we will shout together, "We are one." Hold up your right index finger, and at the count of 3, we will shout, "We are one," and hold for 10 seconds. Let's go ahead. Shall we shout together? 1, 2, 3. We are one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Thank you very much. That brings the HWPL's 6th annual commemoration of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War to a close. I hope this event provided opportunities to discover ideas and answers for concrete action for peace through the DPCW and peace in our daily lives. We fully support all messengers of peace working hard to establish peace. With that, we will close the HWPL's 6th annual commemoration of the DPCW. See you again at the May 25th commemoration of the HWPL Declaration of World Peace. Thank you.